Okay, let's welcome our guest for today, the producer for the animation Lesbian Space Princess, Tom. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
This is one of the very, I would say, very special films in this year's festival because it's an animation, it's fun, it's full of like jokes, erotic jokes and stuff. How did this film became this film?
Well, I think it came from the writers, directors. So
right.
Emma and Leila pitched me this idea probably at the end of 2021.
Yeah.
I pitched it as a title, and it was Lesbian Space Princess.
Okay.
And it was like, of course, we will make that. And like knowing them as creators and like their skill sets, like it was gonna come together really well.
Okay.
We developed it for about a year, so about 4 drafts, and like I think even early on in the process, like we did a week's writer's room where Emma drew a map of the film, which was like a visual representation
like a
of a journey.
Yeah.
So it was one image, and that was the structure of the film.
Okay.
That is still the structure of the film.
Yeah.
That photo is kind of perfect, and we went back to it now that we finished the movie and gone, that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So the structure of it was nailed really quickly, but I mean, like, it's joyous. Like knowing Leila's sort of background and her big focus, like, it's not taking itself too seriously.
Yeah.
However, it still has that beating heart.
Okay.
But first and foremost, like, we wanted it to be funny and joyous.
Yeah, it's very funny. I wonder though, because I've never talked with producers or creators of animation films.
Yeah.
Like how do you do it? Like, do you have like the visual first, or do you create the story first, or how do you produce it? How do you direct it? Or?
Well, I think that producing it was pretty easy with Em and Leila, because like Em comes from it with the artistry, and so she did all the production design. She did all the designs of the characters, so the visual style of this film is all hers. So even at that early stage, we had a look and feel, and the colours of it really vibrant, very bubblegum.
Right. Yeah.
That is M's style.
Yeah.
So we kind of knew tonally what it was going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a 2D animated film on a budget. So we do have to kind of go all like a live action film that's a smaller budget. You got to limit characters, you got to limit locations. Yeah. And that needs to be built in at the script level. Otherwise you're really just shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah. But Em and Leila, to their credit, like they really stuck to that. Like it was a small amount of characters, but then we kind of picked about 5 scenes that we called like hero scenes that we will sort of allow ourselves to overinvest in and make kind of pop, because we wanted it to work on a cinema. Okay. So, yeah.
How is it working with Leila and Emma? Like, do you know them individually before or after? Or?
Yeah, so I'd produced one of Leila's short films previously, and Emma had worked on a couple of our projects in production design. Okay. Because she works in production design and art department as well. So we knew them really well. Yeah. So that's where I think there was a comfortability with how we worked. Yeah. One thing that was new was them, I guess, writing and directing together. Right. And like that was always, co-writing can be a difficult process. Yeah. So it was interesting to see how they kind of organically fell into that. Yeah. But like when I read that first script, it was like, this is good shit. Like they nailed it. And I think the one thing that I know was difficult for them was being able to kind of like it was about 2 years of really hard work. Yeah. Where they're living together as well. Yeah. So they're a couple, but they're also a creative couple. Right. The one thing I would say that they did amazingly was, look, when they were in the office, it was always about the film. Yeah. How do we make the film the best film it can be? And involved in that was a lot of creative disagreement. Yeah, of course. Creative discussion. Yeah. But to their credit, they did that really well. And so like I know they will kind of continue that like collaboration in the future.
Okay. Yeah. How was your journey as as a heterosexual man in this project, because I mean, you know, it's LGBT and it's really not really your forte, right?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I think like, and we've been asked this question a few times, but like the way I would broach like anything creatively is like, is it a good story?
Yeah.
Does it have a clear voice?
Yeah.
Does it have good vision?
Okay.
These have all these things.
Yeah.
And really, like, we love building worlds.
Yeah.
And Em and Leila came to this with like such a like well thought out and vibrant world that we knew we could play a part in enabling and helping them make it.
Right.
Me as a producer, though, I wanted to just make sure, like, my role is I need to be there to support Em and Leila so that they stick to that vision. And like no one else gets in their way.
Yeah.
So if they're getting maybe not so great notes from elsewhere, I'm in their ear going, trust your gut. Because it was like, from the early stages, like, we knew that, you know, in a writer's room, everyone has their opinions. And, you know, you want to listen to everything, but at the end of the day, my job was to go, Em and Leila have to be able to say what they want to say.
Yeah.
And so that's how I approached it.
Okay.
I really didn't think too much about like probably being straight and white, except I was used as a good bounce in the writer's room, because it's like, I think, you know, to their credit, like each of the characters in this film go on a bit of an emotional journey and an arc. So the Straight White Maliens do, the Problematic Ship does, and basically they were using me to bounce those ideas. But I also just said, like I mean, you have to still speak from your gut. Like it needs to be honest and authentic, and that's what's going to resonate. Okay. If it upsets some people, that's okay. Because you don't want to be all things to all people. And I think that's where, like, my job first and foremost as a producer is to make sure they get to make the film they want to make. Regardless of anything
whatever
else. So that was my objective.
Did you learn anything new about the lesbian community?
Well, I think I mentioned the creative debates were quite potent at times. So there was, like really there was a lot of, I don't want to say mediating, but it was also like trying to build an environment where it was okay to have those sometimes fairly like vibrant and difficult creative discussions. And that was something like early on we kind of built a rule into the production, which was like, when we're going to have one of these sort of debates, we go into the boardroom. And so the boardroom, it was, you know, Em, Leila and myself, and that's when everything's on the table. You can go nuts, you can say everything. It was, I got to witness some things in that. They did an amazing job at, as I said, keeping it focused on
as a mediator.
Or no, I was very careful, because every now and then I'd get a message from one of them going, so they were trying to use me as that, but that's fair. That's fair. No, they handled themselves really well. Because it's a year of really tough work. And as I said, it was always for what was making the film better.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit about how you casted the voice actors?
So a few, I mentioned Blade, for example, like we knew we wanted Queen from the get-go. And a few of them, like I know Em and Leila loved the idea of Auntie Donna as the Straight White Maliens. And look, we've worked with Shabana a lot. Like, so Shabana's a very close friend of Leila's. We as a company have worked with her a lot too. So Shabana was always like on the list. But it was one of those ones that was like, the Pit hadn't become the Pit yet.
I watch that show. I love it.
It's amazing. And Bird Eater hadn't really come out. So we still had to go, and part of the thing in getting funding, we still have to go through a casting process to make sure we go through, as much of that process the right way as possible.
Yeah.
But at the end of that, like, we were so happy that Shabana was keen, and that, you know, like, I think she really embodies that Saira character.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing with all the talent that I guess Em and Leela thought about was, how do we kind of make sure we cast from different pockets. Like, they're not all just actors.
Right.
Like, Queen was really important. Yeah, and Emma is obsessed with RuPaul. And so that was one of the things that, like, yeah, it was super important to go, well, there's an audience there. Auntie Donna have their own audience. And then, you know, Richard Roxburgh was a really funny one, because it was just like, he's basically Australian acting royalty.
Yeah.
In Lesbian Space Princess, which is funny as an idea.
Yeah.
So, and then there's some, you know, Bernie and Gemma Chua-Tran from Heartbreak High. I mean, a lot of people, like, fall in love with that Willow character, and I think, like, it was written beautifully, but Gemma brings so much to that character. So yeah, we're just stoked with that talent as a whole.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the animation a lot too, because I just find it, like, so funny. The script is, like, how do you balance the script between being funny, being erotic, being PC, and all those things?
Well, I think that was, I know, like, Em and Leela did go around and around on some of those things with how hard do they go, and that's basically, it was one of the things we spoke about really early, was you have to go as hard as you want.
Oh yeah.
And we can always pull it back.
Yeah.
But, like, let's you know, swing for the fences with it, and then when we see it in the edit, that's when it can be adjusted. And I think one thing that Leela definitely does bring is, like, from a like, she does a lot of stand up. And musical comedy. The jokes per minute was a big thing for her, and that's where it was just like, it is machine gun.
Yeah, like that.
And fortunately, I think we had the talent to sort of pull that off, but also, like, Leela has a wonderful, like, writing rhythm for that, but also directing. So yeah, that's sort of how that came together.
Okay. The film itself covers quite a bit of, like, areas like lesbian, like straight male, like different roles, drag queens. Like, how did you incorporate all of those different identities into?
Well, I think it was actually one of the difficulties. Because also at the end of the day, I mentioned, like, we have a limited budget, which really limits the amount of characters that we can have. So, you know, one of the things that was really important to Em and Leela was to try and bring a diversity, not just to the talent we're hiring, but to those characters. So, it was always tough, just because limited resource. And you can't have everyone in it, even though we would love to. You know, maybe if there's a sequel, we can definitely open it up. But I think, you know, Em and Leela did a really good job in sort of finding a nice balance, but also, you know, keeping it focused on Saira's journey as well. So there are those nice little, like, elements that come into it, but at the end of the day, we are in Saira's perspective. Like, she is the protagonist of the film, and we kind of follow her. And so you get these little tastes of all those little areas, and even though, like, in a TV show, you can really flesh those out. Whereas in a feature, you have a very limited window. But yeah, so it is a tough struggle.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking it really is very difficult, because everybody tries to be, like, politically correct, like, inclusive, being this, being that, and how you squeeze everything into, like, 90 minutes, it's very, very difficult. When I was talking to one of our colleagues earlier, we were discussing about how lesbian-related films are not as easy to sell, or even, I would say, lesbians are underrepresented in the film industry. What do you think about that, or do you agree with that?
Well, I think, like, I'd just be paraphrasing here, but it was something that, you know, I go back to Saira's journey. So one of the things that Em and Leela really talked about was, like, it was almost like a mantra of the film, like, where do the quiet gays go?
Oh, yeah.
And so that was a really, like, for both of them, like, when they were talking about their journeys, it was like there was a lot of representation of, you know, the loud and the flamboyant, but where are the quiet, the ones that kind of need to be brought out of their shell a little bit. And that's where, like, you know, it's one of the rules in storytelling is you don't want a passive protagonist, but it was really important to their authenticity and their journey. And that's something, that definitely we made sure they stuck with their gut.
Okay.
And, you know, Saira really does embody that. So yeah, I'm not sure if that answers the question, but that was that sort of where did the quiet gaze go was one of the, you know, the overarching things that was always pinging around in the back of our heads of like, are we telling that story? Yeah.
Okay. The last thing I want to mention is I really, really love the soundtrack of the film because the singing is beautiful. The songs are very, very nice. So
Leela comes from a musical comedy background. And I remember reading that they were written into the script. So all those songs, the lyrics are there. And I remember when I first read it, I was like, I just couldn't visualize it. I couldn't hear it. And so I was a little hesitant, to be honest, as a producer. And it was when we did a table read, and what Leela went and did, she recorded the songs just on her iPhone. So with an acoustic guitar, she recorded them. So as we were doing the table read, when it would come to that bit, she would play it.
Wow.
And that was when I heard it. And I was like, this is one of the most unique things about this film.
Right.
And like, it just gave the film this beating heart. And that comes from, I think, you know, Leela and what she naturally does.
It's very cute.
And so it then became kind of one of the major elements of the film and something that it is wonderful to hear that is landing with the audience. And look, Leela wrote all those songs. We had a fantastic composer that helped, I guess, realize them in Michael Darren. But then Gemma, I mentioned, like, she performed all that. Like, so just amazing, and had never really done any sort of like hadn't done sort of voiceover work to start with, or recorded music like that. So the fact that it came together the way it did, I think it's really impressive. And like, they're so, like, I remember like Leela's indie demos, like we had on a SoundCloud loop. So we listen to that a lot, like, and they're very earwormy and they get stuck in your head. So like the soundtrack's killer, and that is down to Leela.
So if our audience has missed the first screening of the Lesbian Space Princess, there's still one more screening coming up, I believe, next week. So if you guys want to get tickets, you could go to the LGFF website or Instagram or, you know, social media. There will be information on film. So today I would like to thank Tom for being with us.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll have a chance to talk when you have a sequel.
Yes, that'd be great. Or a TV show.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.